Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today. We are going over retaining top talent and PCORI insights. Just a couple quick housekeeping tips. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and we'll be sure to address those throughout the session. And then this recording will be sent over to you via email as well as the slide deck. But with that, I'll hand it over to our presenters today, Dean Kipp and David Norton.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you all for being here with us today. Our presentation is a couple of different topics. First, talking about PCORI, and then retaining top talent. Can someone confirm that you can hear me well enough?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, very
Yeah, I
good.
can hear you. Yep.
That's fine. I've had situations that 5 minutes into it, someone puts something in the chat box saying we can't hear the speaker. Speaking of which, we do have, if there's any questions, we have a chat box and we have a Q&A box. There's two different parts to this where we will be taking Q&As after the first part and the second. Our usual disclaimer here that this is educational, informational only. We're not attorneys. This is not legal advice. So with that said, we want to provide you as much information as possible, and let's go ahead and get started. First part is talking about PCORI. And this is something which comes up every year at this time. The PCORI filing is due to the IRS, due to be sent into the IRS by the end of July. So what is PCORI all about? Well, PCORI stands for Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute, and this is part of the Affordable Care Act, ACA, and it just basically helps pay for medical research. It's charged to health insurers and to self-insured plans, and as you could imagine, the Aetnas and Blue Crosses and Kaisers, they're paying a PCORI fee in the millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars for each person they're supporting. What we're focused on here is primarily the self-funded, self-insured plans. PCORI was started in 2012, again, as part of ACA. It's scheduled to end in 2029, but I don't personally see the federal government turning down millions and millions of dollars coming in, so we can probably expect it will continue on. So when's this due? As I said, July 31st of the year following the end of the plan year, which basically is calendar year 2025 for most people. How much is it? The amount is determined per person for the average number of insured participants. That includes the spouses and children during the plan year. Here's the current rates for the last 4 years, current year plus last 3, I should say. If your plan ended between October 1st of last year and of this year, your fee is $3.84. The year before that, $3.47, and so on. So who has to submit these things? These are the different types of plans that IRS wants to see the forms submitted for, and this does include any sort of ICHRA program under the HRA element. For our purposes, though, we're going to be talking about self-funded and level-funded plans. Those are the ones that we pay the most attention to. The PCORI fees are not being assessed on employee assistance plans, not put on wellness programs or disease management programs, as long as those plans are not providing substantial medical care or treatment, and there's exemption for all the other types of plans on this list here. I'm not going to read it all to you. Fully insured plans, the PCORI, as I said, is handled by the carrier. They basically aggregate all the covered members, all the groups nationally, and just write one really pretty big check to the federal government for it. How do you calculate PCORI? There are 4 different ways that it's done. You can use your Form 5500 data. You can use what's called the snapshot of the number of people covered on any given day in the month. Typically, the day the invoice is prepared is the one to use, and then you average the 12 months together. There is snapshot factoring, which is a count of the plan enrollments. It's not as precise, and it trends higher, and it becomes a little more costly. So it's easier to do in many ways, but you end up overestimating typically. That's because the standards that they use, the multipliers are higher than just doing an actual count. And then of course you can use the actual count for all this, which is the easiest way. And if you have a small group of people filing who are covered under your plan, that's the simplest way. So if you have an HRA plan or a FSA, the fee is paid only for the employee, not paid for spouses or kids. This also holds true for any COBRA participants or retirees who are still participating in an HRA or FSA. If the employee is participating in both a fully funded plan reported by the carrier as well as your internal HRA or FSA, a separate payment is required for both plans. It gets a little bit involved and convoluted, so if you have issues with a HRA or FSA, you're best to reach out to us and see what's involved. The PCORI is reported on Form 720, which when I checked an hour ago, the federal government has yet to release for this year. They put out a draft copy, but it says all over it, it's watermarked draft, do not use, do not file. So we're all kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to see what's going to happen and how soon they're going to put it out. So that's pretty much it for PCORI. Do we have any questions or anything about PCORI we want to talk about?
No questions have come through the Q&A as of yet on
Nope,
PCORI.
doesn't look like. Okay, we'll just go ahead and segue over to the next part, which is kind of the main topic here of retention of high performers and top talent. So the first thing we have to do is basically define what makes a high performer, what makes top talent. And these are the people, and we've all had them in our organizations. Hopefully we've all had them, still have them, who are consistently outperforming the expectations. They're demonstrating leadership potential. They're embodying the organization's values, and they're having an overall positive impact on the business results. They're the ones that you can go to, the ones you can rely on. And they're the ones that if they were to leave would have a negative impact on your operations. So what's the issue is we're kind of in a retention crisis, have been really since lockdown or the end of lockdown. We see increased reports of labor shortages, expectations from customers, from clients, from regulatory agencies. Mobility is certainly increasing, and there's competitive hiring to keep in mind. People who are good at what they do tend to be in demand. So what are some mistakes that employers do in dealing with this? Well, they're reactive. Someone comes in and gives notice, and John, no, we can't have you leave. Well, what's it going to take to get you to stay here? The ship has kind of already sailed at that point. They mentally have checked out. You might be able to get them to stay for a while, and sometimes it does work, just not very often. Another common mistake is just inconsistent management practices. We're going to talk a lot more about managers' role in this. And then with poor communications, just not communicating well, keeping things hidden, not sharing things that are coming over. So these are all things which are necessary. So again, why do high performers matter? Disproportionate results from what they're doing. They're innovative and they're key for retaining your customers. Recruiting costs, if someone goes out, you got to replace them. You have lost productivity, disruption of the customer, the flow, and of course you're losing the institutional knowledge. Here are some metrics that every business owner should track. Voluntary turnover, see how many people are quitting on their volition. Regrettable turnover, that's the ones that left that you really wish that they didn't. Track someone's engagement, how engaged are they in meetings, in taking on projects and such. And internal promotions, check on if you have people who are consistently being promoted from one level to another every 12 to 18 months or so, sometimes quicker than that. See if you have people who are not promoting. That kind of leads this here. Top talent leaves because of career stagnation. If someone's been in the same job and they are truly a high performer and are truly a driver, they don't want to be in the same job for 4, 5, 6 years. They want new opportunities, new challenges. Leadership issues, we can't overestimate or overstate that. Leadership issues are a big reason why people change jobs. Pay concerns, wage inflation, wage compression, these are all things. Plain old burnout. If someone is working consistently 14, 16-hour days and half days on Saturday and Sunday, they're going to burn out real quick. And eventually they're going to most likely go find something else. You may have a golden handcuffs on them paycheck-wise, but there are other factors, particularly if they have families, if they have small kids or a spouse, or you go to the other end, you have spouses who are getting older and they have health issues themselves. The employee could have health issues. All these things can factor in. And just a plain culture mismatch. That is a little bit confusing, because basically if you have a cultural mismatch, that high performer is probably not going to be there for very long. Real short term, inside of a year usually. But again, it is someone that you had great expectations for and it didn't work out. What do the hypos want? Well, they want a sense of purpose, an opportunity to grow. They want autonomy. Don't micromanage me. They want opportunities for recognition, flexibility, and trust. So what do business owners do? Here are just we have a dozen or so slides to cover this. Provide flexibility in work, particularly for office administrative type jobs. We've seen since 2020 that a lot of work really can be done remotely from home. Our own company, HR Service, we've been working from home since 2020, and it's been highly successful, and the business has grown substantially in that period. So for many operations, many business types, flexibility at work, flexible schedules, as long as the job is getting done, don't worry so much about, is someone online on Teams, is their green light on from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. consistently every single day, except for when they're in meetings and such. Sometimes people have things going on, they're going to put some hours in, after dinner or really early. We know these people, and again, those people tend to be your top performers. Culture of recognition. Recognize the effort, recognize what people are doing, who's doing it. A bit of a trap here, potential, is realize that what one person wants as recognition, one size does not fit all. Some people enjoy the hoopla, the public, the attaboy, attagirl praise at company meetings, and other people are much more reticent, and just a simple thank you from the manager or the CEO or the business owner That's all that they really want. And if you try and do a big hoopla thing, they just start cringing and feel very, very uncomfortable. Managerial effectiveness. More people leave jobs because of bad managers than pretty much any other reason. I saw something the other week probably, about a person who had an opportunity, a very good financially lucrative opportunity to change jobs, yet they decided to stay with where they were because they liked and respected their manager for so long, for so many years, that was the reason they stayed. Prioritization of employee well-being. We hear a lot about work-life balance. We're aware of it. Is your company practicing it? Are you respecting time boundaries? Are you letting people have the flexibility to do what they want? This is all key. And wellness programs, anything along these lines, looking at the employee as a whole person versus as a carbon-based production unit that consumes oxygen. Jumped one too far. Competitive and transparent compensation. As someone phrased it wisely once, ever since the Phoenicians invented money, there's been one answer to how to retain someone. Not quite that simple, but compensation is absolutely key and critical for these things. Have competitive rates, determine what's going on for your area, for your size business, and realize that a lot of the time doing comparison of wages, you have to factor in a lot of things. If you're looking to hire a design engineer, let's say, are they coming to work for a 15-person operation who's been in business for 15 years, or are they looking to work for Boeing? Okay, huge multinational organization. The job title might be the same, but the responsibilities, the pay scales, those are all going to be highly variable. Be transparent about your compensation. A lot of states, a lot of municipalities now require wages to be posted on a job ad, and be honest about it. If you're posting something that says the job starts at 60,000, don't put in an offer of 57 because you think they're somewhat lacking the experience. If you want to hire them, give them the 60 or move on to someone else. But that just causes a problem really fast if you try and lowball them with the offer. Career development, that could be going to trade shows, to conferences, customer meetings, opportunities for internal growth, for liaising with other departments within your organization. Help them to grow and to get to another stage in their career. And this is particularly important for the people who might be in their early mid-career, the people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, typically in that bracket. They want to keep going, and they've got a good 15, 20 or more years in the workforce. Use data where you can to identify retention risks. That can be official sort of data, like check and see who's taking who's taking a lot of extra time off, and who seems to suddenly have a lot of doctor's appointments that they never used to, and is just suddenly missing in action and not taking on opportunities or taking on new projects. Let the water cooler talk and the rumor mill inform you on some of these things. Find out beforehand, and again, you want to be proactive in this wherever you can. Again, we just spoke about work and life integration and balance. Employee listening programs, we'll talk more about that in a moment, but the people who have been around that you want to keep, talk to them and just ask them directly, hey, why do you want to stay here? What is it that keeps you going? Why do you keep coming in every day? Focus on the purpose, their purpose, and how it interacts with the organization's mission. Make sure people understand what their contribution is and how important it is to the success of your business. A sense of inclusion, a sense of belonging. We know that DEI has kind of become a dirty word in many respects in the last couple of years, but the concepts underlying that are still quite valid. And those who are truly your high performers, make sure you're recognizing and rewarding from what they're doing and what they're contributing, regardless of any external things. And again, internal communication and transparency, we hit on that previously. I spoke earlier that leadership, absolute number one, retention. The manager behaviors and consistency will drive someone's engagement, drive their retention, and the opposite tends to drive people out the door. Building trust, again, good communication, being honest. Certainly there are some things that are on a need to know that you can't share everything about all the time. But don't just outright fib to someone, because if it's too blatant. I was in a situation years ago where it was very obvious that the company was being sold, yet the operations manager would go to staff meeting and say, no, everything's fine, everything's good. And it's like, not only are you lying to us, you're insulting our intelligence. We can figure this out. So, those sort of things, those are extreme merger and acquisition situations. There is non-disclosure agreements, but sometimes you have to, don't just outright lie about it. Say, yeah, there's something going on, I can't talk about it. That ties in with transparency. Consistency. It's really important to be consistent in how you're treating all your employees, how you're treating your peers. We've all heard the phrase about certain people who tend to kiss up and kick down, and along the line of command. You don't want to be identified as that sort of a person. You want to be consistent so that what someone gets one day is pretty much what they're going to get the next day. Again, we're all human. We all have situations with variables, but overall, you should not be deviating more than a couple of ticks from a generally consistent path. And accountability for your actions. Just be honest, and if you make a mistake as a manager, own up to it and say, hey, you're right, I didn't handle that very well, I should have done this, and I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Come on. Mouse wasn't working for a second. Stay interviews. This is something which is important to do. Where basically after someone's been with you 18, 24, 36 months, whatever, just take them aside, maybe take them to lunch, or do a Teams call if you're all remote or whatever, and just say, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing, and let's be honest, I know that someone with your abilities and drive has other opportunities. What is it about this place that keeps you coming in? And they'll probably say something about, well, the pay is great, or the people I work with are great, which is all valid. I'm not discounting any of it. But determine what it is, and after you talk to a few people about this, you'll start to be able to develop some data points yourself about what makes sense and how is this all working, and what are the common threads here that make this an employer of choice and an ideal place to work. Recognition, again, as we talked about, formal and informal recognition systems, but keep in mind that one size really does not fit everyone. Compensation strategies, market-based pay, again, make sure that what you're offering is fitting for whatever the the market is, and particularly for those who have employees scattered across the country, realize that the cost of living in Manhattan and Miami and Lincoln, Nebraska are radically different, and realize that needs to be factored in. A single flat rate just may not actually work depending on the cost of living in certain municipalities and regions. Incentive programs, bonuses, being sure that if you're offering these sort of things, that they make sense, that they're tied to individual performance, they're tied to company performance, organizational goals, and in some cases, equity, stock shares in the company, where that might be appropriate. That's absolutely a case-by-case basis, but there are some situations where we're offering people a literal share in ownership of the business. Makes good business sense. Benefits that are mattering. Again, we talked about flexibility, caring for their well-being, proper PTO, encouraging PTO usage, respecting PTO. If someone's going to be gone, generally they're going to be gone. They have things going on with their families or whatever they're doing. Don't interfere with that unless it's an absolute disaster, and even then, think several times before you interrupt them. And again, some people may just say, "Hey, I know I'm PTO. It's no big deal. If you need something, call me." Well, if you have their permission, again, minimize it. Just because you have permission doesn't mean you should overuse it. And we're aware, and we've all heard the stories about how Americans and PTO usage is very different from other parts of the world. So something to keep in mind. Development and support. Again, this is career development. Prevention of burnout. Managing workloads. Make sure you have adequate staffing. There was an organization, again, some years ago that I was involved with that they simply did not have adequate staff in this particular department to handle the extreme business growth and business needs, and they were having people working 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily, and it just was tearing people apart and was causing family issues and all sorts of things. Prioritization. If everything's a crisis, then nothing's a crisis. So determine what really needs to be done. Work with people. If you may have some people who are not very good at prioritizing, and they're the ones who maybe need to be taught that if you treat everything as a crisis, nothing is a crisis. It's a matter of just learning. Creating the high performance culture. Accountability goes both ways. It goes from ownership and leadership, and it goes from the employees. Be accountable for your performance. Take credit where credit's due, and do the right things. Values, basic business ethics, cultural ethics. Make sure that your mission statement isn't just 130 words all strung together out of an AI generated thing that no one's ever paid any attention to. And performance expectations. Make sure that you have performance expectations, goals set aside, things that are going to make sense. Last thing here, the key takeaway is retention is a business strategy. It's not an HR initiative. This is not something that you just hand off to your HR people and say, we have high turnover, go fix it. It just doesn't work that way. There's a whole wide gamut of things that we've just covered in the last 20 minutes that address all this. Okay, with all of that, we're on Q&A part 2, and out of the corner of my eye, I see we got a bunch of stuff coming in.
We did get a few questions in, a couple PCORI and a couple 3 of the retention piece. So first, let's jump back to PCORI. This one says with ICHRA, you need to pay the PCORI fee on all members enrolled, With LF or SF, you only pay on the employees.
Okay, Greg, on that one, ICRA is not something that comes up real often. I'll be happy to look into that for you and get back to you on it. But that's something that's kind of nuanced.
And Greg does I believe it's a follow-up for the same one, his
Yeah, it
ICRA.
looks like it. Yeah, so he's
Okay.
here saying, so the ICRA, well, so you need to be paid on all the members. I don't see that. Again, let me double check this and get back to you. I don't want to send you up the wrong direction on this one. Okay, what else?
All right. So we have, how would you count someone in turnover who you hire, knowing they'd be leaving in 2 or so years for school, i.e., they're going to dental school, but will be a dental assistant until they get accepted into school?
Well, there would be a voluntary quit to go back to school, and that's someone who is kind of early in their career path, and they are still developing. So I wouldn't really consider it. They get out of dental school and they come back and they're a full dentist. If they're a good person, you might want to hire them and bring them on as a full dentist, not
Mhm.
just as an assistant.
Exactly, exactly. All right, one more. What are the best practices to see if a candidate fits the organization's culture before hiring them?
Well, that's all part of the interview process and the screening process and making sure you have good interview questions. The reality, of course, is that during the interview process, everyone's on their best behavior, and they're going to spend more time in their first day at work than they ever did doing interviews. And that's where you find out. Have some what if questions during the interview and the screening. Listen to their questions. Always leave time in the interview process for them to ask some questions, and determine if those questions seem viable, if it shows that this person is really interested, they're really probing, or if they're just basically very generic questions, or the worst one, no, I have no questions at all. No, I didn't do any research about the company. I know nothing about you. Those are the ones that I tend to pass on. But again, it depends on the role. If I'm hiring for a fry cook at McDonald's, it probably doesn't bother me too much. If I'm hiring for an engineering manager, that's a different kettle of fish.
I have one more. If your entire team are high performers, how do you retain all of them?
Well, again, it's a matter of keeping the people happy, making sure their pay is good, making sure their work-life balance is good, making sure the career opportunities. If you have an actual situation where you have just a bunch of elites, if you will, the creme de la creme, the top ones, have them work together to see what can be done to push the business higher and increase the growth of the business. That'd be a great problem to have if you really did have a team of all top performers, because that should be able to push your own organization several levels higher as well.
Okay, that's all the questions we had in the Q&A.
Okay, great. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to briefly touch on HR service. HR service, basically, we help employers in three main areas of human resources, support packages, projects. We have benefits, compliance, administration for FSA, HRA, HSA, COBRA, all the things you've been seeing on this chart here. And please reach out to our salespeople. And here's the slide to contact, the phone number there. Solutions at HR Service, our website, and we'll be happy to help you out here. And just one moment, real quick, while I hope that didn't pop up on the screen. Just really quick, Greg, I'm doing a screen grab of your question here so I can check into it for you. Okay, I think that's a wrap. Anna, I'll turn it over to you.
Alrighty, thanks everyone for joining. And like I said, there will be a email sent out to the attendees with the recording and then the slide deck. But stay tuned for our next webinar. We do host these every month, and we will see you guys next time.